Hey everybody, welcome back to another wonderful episode of the Migrant Hope channel. If you're here, I just want to say thank you. So by way of introduction, if you do not know me, my name is Charlene and I am the founder of the Migrant Hope channel. I'm also a licensed certified public accountant and I currently work in audit in New York City. So on today's video, or for today's episode, we're going to actually be focusing on those who intend to take the CPA exam. So a lot of times, a lot of questions that I get are, what part do I take first? You know, even when I was studying for the test, I was contemplating like what makes sense to take first, which of the parts to take first. And I thought that this would be extremely helpful because of course, I wish I had this information when I was studying for the test. But that's kind of what we'll be getting, is just a couple of things that you need to consider before committing to take one test before the other. I hope that you find this video helpful and thank you so much. Make sure to like, share and subscribe, and without further ado, let's jump into the video. Hey everyone, thank you again for tuning in. So the first thing I would 100% say is take the part that you feel the most comfortable in. Now the exam is FAR, there is reg, there is BEC and there is audit. These exams they all have different level of difficulties and it just really depends on the people. The reason I say take the part that you feel most comfortable in first is because that would kind of boost your morale for you to be able to continue taking the rest of the test. When I was studying for the test, right, I took FAR first because I understood financial concepts a little bit better than me trying to like take regulation, for example, which you guys know and I talk about all the time. Me and reg are not best friends. Me and tax are not great friends. So with that being said, you know, I ended up taking FAR because I knew that, okay, if I could study for it and just, you know, buckle down, I would definitely be able to ace it and it will give me encouragement for the rest of the other parts. So know your strengths and weaknesses in that regards, right? And I would 100% and highly encourage you to take a part that you know you are more comfortable in, so then of course you're able to ace it and then you feel boosted enough to be able to continue with the rest of the part. So the second thing that you absolutely want to consider is look at the circumstances and your situation in life currently. So many times, you know, some of us have obligations, whether it's children, whether it's family, you may be getting married, your kid may be getting baptized, a lot of things may be happening, your spouse may be traveling or whatever. And with that being said, that would help you be able to rank what part to take first. The reason I say this is extremely important is because if you're anything like me, I was not trying to take this test more than once, even though I ended up failing two, so I had to retake those. But I would definitely say that consider your current life situations. When I was deciding on which part to take, I considered FAR because I knew I had a big amount of time, like a huge gap between when I could study, and then also at that time, coincidentally, I had a huge family emergency which would have deterred me if I tried to like take a shorter part like a lot sooner. So I gave myself enough time and I knew that like all these factors in my life going on at that present time, it would not have allowed me to take the test sooner or like before then. So I would definitely encourage you, consider all the circumstances in your life and see if it makes sense. If you know that you're going to be too busy, don't try to like take a difficult part at that time. Take something which is a bit lighter, which is a bit easier. So I hope that helps. Now point number 3 is, if you're a working professional, I would 100% encourage you to take the part that you're already working in first. Now if for example, you guys know I work in audit, so if I was trying to figure out what part to take first, most likely I would take audit first, only because granted it's theory versus practice, but at the same time too, you end up being more familiar with the material and it's just going to be a lot easier for you to study. It doesn't make sense for you to full-time be working in audit and then you go take like tax regulation for the first time, because of course you may struggle a bit more with the concepts and that kind of thing. So I would definitely encourage you, especially if you're out of school and you're working full-time and trying to study, take the part that you're already working in the industry, because I feel like it will be a lot easier for you to pass, and then that way it will give you, you know, morale for you to continue taking the rest of the test. Now I talked about the working professional, let's get to whoever is a student. The next thing that you definitely want to consider, right, is if you're a student, take the part that maybe you had just taken the class previously. So if you took tax right before graduation, if you took audit right before graduation, now granted financial which is far. It's a lot of like basic, it's like a lot of like accounting 201, 202, 301 type concepts. It's a lot of like financial accounting, of course, which is like early level accounting classes. But I would definitely encourage you, if you're straight out of school, definitely take like FAR first, or definitely take audit or reg, depending on which class you may have taken recently, just because the material is still fresh in your mind, and then it would probably just be easier for you to just ace it and get it done. If you guys haven't noticed, I'm all about taking the part that would like help you and boost your morale, so that you're able to like, you know, feel like, all right, I could pass this one, so certainly I can be able to pass the rest of them. Now the fifth thing and the last thing which I would say is, and this is something that one of my friends actually said to me, she was like, when you're filming, make sure you tell your audience this, and it's like, the part that you should take first is the one that you can afford to lose. Basically what that means is, once the way the CPA test works is, once you pass your first test, you have 18 months to kind of be done with the exam. So a lot of times, depending on whether you start taking it before you start work, or like, you know, if you're in between transitions in life, sometimes you may end up losing a part or two. There's so many people, I know so many people who ended up losing like a couple of parts just because of things that were happening, whether it was work, whether it was regular life. But with that being said, prioritize the test that you know that you can possibly afford to lose. A lot of times nobody wants to study twice or 3 times for like reg and FAR, because those are a lot longer. So I would definitely encourage you, if you're in that case, then you may want to take like BEC and audit, a part that you don't necessarily, you wouldn't hate yourself if you have to retake it because you lost the part. So that should be the one that you prioritize, because as soon as you pass it, you have 18 months. And if you don't pass, and if you you don't pass the rest in 18 months, you end up losing that part, and you may have to unfortunately retake it. So that's just something else to consider. I hope that that was helpful in that regard. Hey everybody, thank you so much if you're watching this video, of course, and you're at the end of it. I really hope that that was helpful for you in terms of like things that you may want to consider